Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan. I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
And we have another fun-filled episode for you folks this week. We're recording a little bit early. This is a nice, casual Sunday, sort of laid-back sesh.
Like a lazy Sunday.
Yeah. And and we're doing it because we recorded before the big announcement that happened on Thursday, and it was significant. It was sizable. So. And a lot of what we said in our last episode, we might have to eat a little bit of crow on, but that's the risk you run when you record before a big announcement like this. So that's going to be the majority of the show. It's going to be all of the show. We're not going to talk about deck lists or anything like that. We're going to talk about the eSports announcement that WotC had. So if that's not something that you're going to be interested in, it's not something you care about, I would encourage you to listen because I feel like we'll still, be entertaining and charming and all those things. But if the content's going to put you to sleep, then I can understand you skipping this one.
I would also say that if you look at the schedule for the rest of the year, we will have time to look at the deck list from the GPs and from
Yes.
SCG Con. Because SCG's done for the year at this point. Their next event is the Unified Modern Open in Columbus, beginning of the year, and we have Worlds coming. The World Championship coming next. So beyond that, Magic's kind of shutting down competitively for the year. So
yes,
we'll have time to process all these decks. But for now, I guess you say if you're only interested in deck lists, but if you're a competitive player or competitively minded in deck lists, then I feel like this will also matter to you. I don't know. Morgan's saying you can leave if you want to. I'm going to guilt trip you about it.
Oh, okay. Play that card.
I mean, I guess if you feel like you need to.
If you want, it's fine. Period. Fine. Period.
That's it. It's okay, I guess.
Yeah. One of those.
That I don't want to sound like your significant other, dragging you down. But
you can leave if you want to.
Yeah, we all do that. It's just I guess you can go. But
all right, so let's get started on this. The first thing we want to talk about is actually something that did happen today. Is Star City Games is obviously having SCG Con, and it got a little snowy in Roanoke. They were saying on the stream it turned into Snow and Oak.
Roanoke,
which is charming. And they canceled all Sunday events, all public Sunday events. So not the Invitational Top 8. Not the Cube Draft Championship, basically, which is an invitation event.
Right.
You had to win a feeder tournament to be qualified for it. But I believe they had a standard championship, a modern championship, a legacy championship. I believe were happening today or yesterday, but maybe they did happen yesterday. I'm not sure when these tournaments took place, but any other public events, whatever was going on, are canceled. The only thing that are going on were those two events. And they did that in the service of obviously public safety. If you aren't familiar, if you are mainly a Midwestern listener and are like, what, they had 3-4 inches of snow and that shut down the city? Well, Roanoke is technically a southern city. It's in Virginia, and they don't have the infrastructure to really handle a whole lot of snow suddenly, which sounds like that's what happened.
Right.
And in those kind of situations, just like how Mike was reminding me, they had a big ice storm in Dallas.
Right.
Not recently, I guess.
A couple years ago for a GP, they've kind of iced the city out. So.
Yeah, so it's there's been precedent before, and people always are going to err on the side of public safety over everything else. And it's not like Star City Games looked at the tournaments they were going to run today and be like, "Oh, no one's going to show up. We should just cancel them." No, I think it's a real jaded way to look, and what you might typically expect from At Your End Step at times. But I don't think that is. I don't think you should. I don't think taking the jaded look at it is really going to be beneficial in this situation.
No, all the people who need to travel, the longer you keep them there, the harder the travel out's going to be. And that includes staffing too. If you've obviously a fair amount of the judges will be local-ish, but if you're not, you might want to have a chance to leave. So no, good on Star City for doing that, actively foregoing income because of this.
Yes.
So it's rough, and I would say, as much as I do want to say maybe it's a reason to not host in Roanoke, it's not really a reason not to host in Roanoke. Everything else is a reason not to host in Roanoke.
Yes.
But not that. There you go. There's that cynicism. I brought it back.
Yeah. Well, we just love to anytime we can drag Virginia as a state with its multiple trashy cities. we'll do it.
I really enjoyed it. Somebody asked me about this last night, and I was like, I'm doubling down on it. Like,
yeah, no. If there's a thing that we can hang our hat on, it's that we do not like Virginia.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's historical precedent for us to not like Virginia at times, so I'm okay with it.
I know we're supposed to we're Columbus based. We're supposed to not give a damn for the whole state of Michigan, but Virginia.
Yeah, Virginia's the one.
Yeah.
I can just like Michigan for, obviously football reasons, but I can like Virginia for many other reasons.
Just like a state because of the ball. Let's maybe talk about these announcements now.
Yes, please.
We keep, not even dunking. We're like little kids with one of those little tykes. We had to set the hoop down further, then we can dunk on it.
Yeah, of course. So the basic idea of this announcement is that Magic is basically really trying to push into the realm of esports. And they've, done a lot of things in this announcement to kind of show where they are at understanding what that looks like and what that is. So first and foremost, I think this is the big headline grabber is there's going to be a $10 million prize pool up for grabs in 2019 across multiple different events, both in paper, so as what they are starting to call tabletop, as well as digital, which is not Magic Online, which is Arena, is going to be the lead platform with this. They're also going to be introducing a Magic Pro League, creating a new level of professional play. The inaugural MPL is comprised of 32 of Magic's top-ranked players from around the world, who are each offered player and streamer contracts with a combined worth of $75,000. So that is interesting.
The wording on that I think is interesting.
Yes, the streamer aspect.
Well, it says combined worth, right? So in my mind, when something has a combined, so when you look at sports contracts, right? They have a max worth, but that includes hitting riders, right?
Yeah.
So if you sign a contract that is worth up to blank, right? Mm-hmm. That might mean you will earn this much money if you play in 75% of the games, right? So they will pay you less if you are not healthy, right? Because they want you to be on the field.
Right.
If you make the All-Star game, they will give you something else, right? So there's riders here. That is how this seems to be worded to me. So maybe if you are on paper, right? But you don't really have the funds to stream, right? Or you're not set up to stream. Maybe you only can worth, if you're in the top 32, maybe you're not getting all that contract. Maybe that's how that words it to me. So, but I do like the idea then of this is a pretty interesting way to address what Jerry Thompson was talking about. What we talked about a little bit last week.
Yeah.
Because it says here that they're going to play each other each week, right? They'll be competing in seasonal, weekly competitive matchups on Arena. And so I like the idea that if you have a contract, this is your job now.
This is what you do week in and week out.
You are going to do this. Your face is going to be here. You when I turn on if I turn on Twitch, I know that I can watch you on playing Arena, which I think is interesting and probably makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, 100%. I think that this is something that is common within the other esports realms where it's taken as seriously and it's a job, and you can watch weekly. I don't know if they're always qualifiers, but there's typically a weekly tournament that you can probably track your favorite, esports player in doing something. So I think that makes a lot of sense as far as them being taken seriously as, employees, basically. So we already talked about the weekly tournaments. And that's obviously good to introduce a lot of faces. Not everyone who is going to be in the top 32 is going to be a familiar face to people necessarily. So I think that's important. I think that's really interesting because there are definitely people in the top 30, the best 32 players in Magic that aren't personalities and now have to change that.
Ostensibly, right? So... Yeah, I do wonder how they're going to manage that because,
it's hard.
The person who wins the most, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a name because there's a couple different ones. There are Magic players who play Magic Online who have who win all the league trophies, who have that X number, right? Are not people that you really know. Some of them do stream. I'm trying to remember the name of the one. I played against one of them in the last MOCS monthly, but essentially like if they just have no other presence, that is interesting. And like once you're in the top 32 ranked on Arena, do you just automatically like a salesman shows up at your door like, Watsy here, we have your contract.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I don't know how. It just says that it's just the top 32 players. Probably 32 of Magic's top ranked players.
So this is where we should pause for a second.
Yeah.
A lot of the language that is used in this announcement, and we're going through. I went through and bulleted all of the announcements that are in there out. A lot of them are worded ambiguously. Okay, and this I'll go into my day job for a second. If you don't know what ambiguous means, ambiguous means that like you can take it one or both ways. It's like when you shrug your shoulder and say maybe to somebody. It's like I don't know what that means because it doesn't mean anything, right?
Right.
So some of these things are worded in such a way that like 32 of the top ranked players doesn't actually mean the top 32.
Yeah.
So some of them could say because I assume they can't just force you into a contract. It was
right.
it's like you are now ours. Arena Shang Tsung's you like
correct.
Your soul is mine.
But that is very interesting to be like it's so hard to be if you're one. Okay, so if you take like the world, the top 32 players, and Watsy comes up to you, is like offers you a contract, but does have these stipulations that you're not used to.
Right.
Like, are you a fool for passing on that because it's so lucrative with you being so successful in Magic currently? It's interesting.
I agree with you on that. I have to think about like myself. Like if I put myself in that situation, and yes, I know again, I'm not going to be in that situation, but like I have a full-time job.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of pro players do as well, which is something that has been like a point of like, oh, well, these people have to get a full-time job. Well, okay. Well, now you don't. But what if that contract's going to be what? Guaranteed for a season?
Right.
Then you have to prove that you deserve to keep the contract.
Right.
And can you give up a full-time job with benefits to do this? You know what I mean? So I think like that's probably what Watsy has to be like this. There are some people who this is going to be their ticket, and there are some people who are going to have to look at it and realize that it's not for them. And that doesn't mean it's bad.
Right.
It demands a certain lifestyle.
Yeah, and a certain lifestyle that has been able to be achieved via other various games. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. 100%.
The important thing to note about those other games, though, is the pros in those don't there's only one or two pros that consistently have success in those leagues year over year, and that they can stay in that top echelon of their own game. So it's I think that comparatively it's if you look at the Hearthstone League, I think since it started, there's only been a handful of players that have consistently shown up.
Right.
So it's not something that is a sure thing year over year, like theoretically how an actual 40-hour job would be.
Right. And it should be pointed out too, unless there's something else stated, these people who have those contracts also can then earn winnings as well.
Correct.
So it stands to be fairly, I think, lucrative, and I would want to see what it entails, just like anybody else who'd want it. But I mean, I think if you're a person who is maybe not as old, if that makes sense. I hate to say that, but an LSV has a child, you know what I mean? These people who need to have a consistent income, or who have gone on, I mentioned LSV to start or work in companies that are progressing themselves, like Direwolf Digital or anything else.
Yeah, it's really weird when you are a game designer at what is now going to be a very much so competitor to Magic Arena, and being like, hey, can we also contract? There's
a whole bunch of things. Yeah,
likely stipulations where LSV works that can't be a thing.
That's probably true. But then when you look at maybe a younger player, is it Collins? Is that the kid who's 16 who just top aided his third invitational?
Who's in the finals?
Yeah,
of his invitational currently going on. Yeah, so, gross though.
Disgusting. Yeah, we'll talk about
Ironworks Smear in the finals.
Later. No, we're talking about it later. But I'm just saying, a 16-year-old kid who could ostensibly because that does seem like the kind of thing you could do while going to school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially if your college is online. So for those younger players who they're getting onto the pro scene, they're having success, and Magic sort of leads to this transient lifestyle. This That makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I think you can also see just by the very nature of that who WotC may be targeting with these contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just happy that if Owen gets one, then his family can stop worrying.
But I think you hit on something though with younger players, because when you look at the esports as a whole, it's a young man's game, or a young person's game, I should say. There's not.
Wow! Yeah, you just realized what you did.
Yeah, it's terrible. I corrected myself.
All right,
it's a young person's game. But that's a lot of the time due to actual like wear and tear with like especially like keyboard focused esports. Your League of Legends, your Dotas, your hands like. They destroy their hands to play these games, especially like StarCraft players, because APM actions per minute is one of their strongest points when you're looking at a professional StarCraft player. So you won't necessarily have that now with Magic Online, or excuse me, with the Magic Arena and things like that. So it's weird because you can just play Magic forever and never necessarily be like bad at it,
right?
But you also can't be an esports professional forever and not be like I don't know. I don't know.
We're still in. That's a whole different conversation. We're still in the infancy of what like true esports are when you compare I know that obviously you've had things like StarCraft leagues for a long time, but like when you compare it to like major sports and like what Twitch is and all these things, like it's still kind of in its infancy. So you're dealing with like WotC's got to learn as everyone else learns. So I think this is for those players who have looked for pay. This is a great start for that. If you're the kind of person who's put that sort of excellence, and I know that this probably does mean. I guess we can get to this a little bit later, but with a lot of the shifts, this does mean the end of the traditional program, though, and the levels system. Now, 32 contracts is more than there are normally people who are platinum. But by getting rid of like silver, it is going to. They've been talking about how they want to adjust the sizes of pro. Well, we'll talk about pro tours in general.
Yeah,
but like it does look like that's going to happen too because of this. So good for those top 32, but harder to be a pro in general.
Yeah.
So it's really going to depend on what they're going to do to Arena to incentivize it. So it'll be interesting.
I think so.
Again,
I do think
ambiguity is full of this because like we don't know what that means going forward. We don't.
No.
I played in the PBTQ yesterday. Probably the last one I will ever play in. Top 8, died in the top 8. Which is sad because I realized that I think I've only not top 8'd 3 or 4 PBTQs I've ever played. And I've won a lot of them too. Like that system was good to me, even though it was a bad system. But the head judge there had to explain to everybody that like, okay, if you win this PBTQ, you go to the RPTQ, but it does not qualify you for a pro tour. It qualifies you for the championship. So there's a lot of weird transitioner stuff where it's just like, wait, what? So yeah, it's all kind of strange, but hopefully this is at least the beginning of a good thing with that.
Yes. So let's continue on. They're going to be kicking off the new esports and competitive gaming program with a special $1 million MTG Arena Mythic Invitational event at PAX East in Boston on March 28th through the 31st. Now, some of you may know that Arena is currently in open beta. I would hope that once we hit that March date, they are fully released. Because it's weird to launch your, competitive gaming scene on a program that's, again, still in open beta.
Right.
So I don't know if that's a direct statement of them that they're going to, hit full release before that. And to be frank, with the state of video games as it is, betas last a lot longer. Things have beta tags for years,
right?
Comparatively to how it used to be, where a game would be in beta and not be released yet, and then you would get, you would have your gold master that would be, come out and be fun and be done.
There's a zombie shooter that just exited early release this week. I'm trying to remember the name of the game, but it was an early release for 5 years.
Yeah.
What was it called? I don't remember what it was called.
I have no idea, but you can look at things like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, or I think Fortnite is still technically a beta.
A beta, yeah, that's fair.
So it's just so weird how we can have these betas that are actually just real games, but then like when weird stuff happens, they can be like, "Well, it's a beta." It's just it feels like a cop out, but that's fine. I know games take a lot of time, money, and effort to make, so I'm no game designer, but
it might be Dying Light. That might be the game I'm talking about.
Okay,
so.
But yeah, it's just weird. It's just weird. And the rest of 2019 will feature a new series of Mythic Championships, high prize pool, high drama events in both Magic Arena and Tabletop.
I just picture the Key and Peele sweating GIF
all the time.
I see that just like
constantly,
constant stream.
So this is what is going to be replacing Pro Tours. The prize pool for these tournaments, though, is going to be $500,000, and prizes are going to be paid out to all participants, all the way down to last place. However, this is very important, no travel awards any longer. So you will not be able to get a comps flight. Is that typically how it would work, or either a flight or that amount in cash if you were driving or something like that? I forget how it all worked. I never qualified for a Pro Tour.
So like I had a flight to Spain. If I had qualified for like Cleveland, for example, though, yeah, I could take a cash amount and just drive there. So yeah, I think this is interesting. We should point out the $500,000 prize for the new Mythic Championships is twice as much, a little over twice as much as what Pro Tours used to pay out.
Yes.
Like what Pro Tours will currently pay out. The travel award thing is interesting though, just because like for myself, like. So my ticket to Spain cost almost like $1,500, like round trip, that they paid for. So if I was guaranteed to get at least $1,500 to go to the Pro Tour, right, then technically it would be worth it to get it. But at that time, I certainly couldn't have paid for that ticket.
Right.
So I do wonder though, like if they will be better about deferments then in that case. You know what I mean? If I do qualify, hey, can I defer until this one that's in the country that I live in? But
yeah.
Again, I think this is all in line with the numbers that they are trying to get to, right? Because in my mind, again, ambiguity is the name of the day here, or the game of the day, I should say. In my mind, if they know that every single person is going to get paid, right? But they have a prize amount set already, like 500,000.
Yeah,
that tells me they know exactly how many players they want qualified.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, doesn't that mean they have an idea, like an exact number in head of like who's going to be there? So that's interesting, at least.
Another thing. So, if you defer a paper Mythic Championship, can you participate in a arena one?
Maybe, but
I don't know if they're separate things.
The prize pools are going to be bigger for the arena one, so like that's probably not okay.
I don't. Yeah, it's so weird. I don't know. Like I don't know what. Maybe they aren't Mythic Championships. Those are the thing for arena, the $1 million thing in Boston. That's an invitational, right?
Right.
So it's different.
That's true, I suppose.
So maybe the invitationals and the championships will just be separate.
Yeah,
so,
maybe. Again, who knows? We literally got 50 bullet points of information and still feel lost.
But obviously we're not lost on this. Pro Tours don't exist anymore. They will no longer be. If you got a sweet shirt from the last Pro Tour that had the 2 extra ones that don't exist anymore, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but we'll expand upon that. That's a collector's item. Congratulations.
Can we talk about how badly WotC handled things like that? Then, like, how far along do they know this is coming? When it's like, oh, you know what? You don't get shirts and stuff anymore. You don't get free swag, and people are like, oh, come on, and it's like, oh, well, literally, this is the only one where it's going to matter. Like, it's not even a Pro Tour anymore. Calm down, everybody. But no, we have to act like we've upset everybody before we can break them down, before we can build them up.
Right. But see, now we're getting conflicting information because arena-based Mythic Championships, so there are going to be arena-based Mythic Championships that aren't invitationals, will be queuable via arena, which is important. That is now a way that you can go on arena. And theoretically, if you grind enough, a free way that you can actually go and qualify for the Pro Tour. You don't ever have to spend any money. As far as I know, you might have to play. I guess you might have to pay for the actual tournament.
Right.
Maybe there won't be a gold entry fee for the qualifier. You might have to buy gems and actually do that. But not having to buy cards or travel anywhere, it's appealing for sure.
I think I would say yes, it's appealing, but it's also like I don't know. It feels like this huge thing, but then you tell me that like yeah, and you can do it all from the comfort of your basement. Then it's like something about it doesn't feel as nice.
Do you think that? Do you think that some of that is just for the sheer fact that you have such a history with the game?
Oh, don't get me wrong, yes, but like I think that I guess like and again, I'm not nearly as invested as traditional esports, so I know like how that normally functions, but like I I think that like sure, it's definitely from that, but I also just like Magic feels like it's always felt like an event to me, like not just like oh an event on the game, but like I go and do this to go and do these things. And like I don't know, it just feels like if step one is at your home on your computer, and then step two is also at home on your computer, and then step three is also at home on your computer. I don't know. That just doesn't feel like you're doing anything.
Well, at some point in time, it's likely that you would still have to go somewhere to participate in these arena events. Like
it's probably true
because you still have that with Hearthstone and all the other
right.
They want card games that have esports elements.
Yeah, they're not gonna let you compete the Pro Tour level at home, where you could also be watching coverage while you're doing it.
Right, exactly. Like it's going to be housed somewhere. You're going to have to go somewhere to participate on computers that they provide or what have you. So that is interesting. Again, I question the deferment. Then can you defer to a paper one? I guess the Invitational will have a higher price pool. All these Mythic Championships will have the same price pool. So assumedly that's not an issue. But I don't know. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think the interesting thing that we wanted to discuss is, so Arena, they're going to soon be launching a update to their ranking system. So all of these card games have ranking systems. Or ladder, what's commonly referred to as like a ladder system. So you work your way up the ladder at the end of the season or at the end of the month, what have you. You get rewards for how high you got in the ladder. They knock you down a few pegs on it, and then you start again. The ladder is only going to be for best of one.
Right.
So what are arena championships best of one?
God, I hope not.
I hope not as well. But there is not going to be a ladder system for best of three. So you got me there. I don't know what that means, and no one does. But it's interesting to think about.
Yeah.
Maybe the ladder system is just for, people on Arena, and then if you do want to compete, then you do have to, build a full 75 card deck with a 15 card sideboard and actually play best of three matches to qualify. And that's what I would hope, because then you're mirroring paper, and that's what you want to do with these events, because these are serious events and that won't have to worry about the ladder. It's just weird because if you want to work on your ladder, you can't practice your best of three matches.
Right.
Which is...
It also just changes, like, what decks function and do well in best of ones are not
best of three decks.
Yeah, they're just not like.
But again, that could just be a weird disconnect that exists on Arena. Like that could just be how they have decided they want Arena to look, and it just be weird.
It just paces faster for sure, but it's weird.
Yeah.
It didn't even fit with design of Magic. Like Magic play design, like literally has existed to like make sure that you have ways to counteract strategies, and you're suggesting on your ladder system that a bunch of cards that we print literally they're textless. They don't matter.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
But that's what they've decided. That's what they had a announcement maybe a couple weeks ago talking about it. So if you haven't looked on Arena, definitely check out that announcement because it's pretty interesting to hear them talk about their new how they're going to actually fix their ladder system. Then so there'll be Cupid V Arena in the Magic Pro League. Excuse me. Players in the Magic Pro League will be ranked based on points earned via high finishes in Mythic level events. Challenger players who do well in one of those events. Sorry, there's just
a lot here. Yes,
Challenger players who do well in those events will also be ranked based on their finishes, keeping the MPL players on their toes and leaving room for newcomers to take their place at the top. We'll be releasing more details about the MPL seasons and rankings as we get ready to kick off the first season.
Can we talk about the naming of this for a second? of the Mythic Championship and Mythic level events. So I guess they're keeping in line with the rarity, right?
Yeah.
Because like we have Mythic and Magic. Do you remember when Mythic as a rarity was created and WotC flat out said that Mythic was a rarity not for tournament level cards, but for like things that shouldn't show up that often, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
But now it's literally associated with high level tournaments.
Correct.
That's adorable to me.
Yeah, it's very ironic. But yeah, and I guess the challengers are all the other non-ranked non-ranked people. We're all challengers now, guys. But yeah, that's a thing. But I mean, that makes sense. You would want everyone to be ranked so that obviously players can see where they are and can, get some fire under them if they're slacking or what have you. Whatever. All right. The 2019 Tabletop Mythic Championship schedule is as follows. Cleveland, 22nd through the 24th. Good time to be in Cleveland in the dead of winter.
Yep, I'm sure that nothing like snow and oak will happen there.
Yeah, no, not at all. Hey, at least they're handled to, deal with that kind of stuff, right?
I mean, yes, they are, but like they'd also like it gets worse there. I don't know. Whatever. I guess it's towards the end of February, so it's almost springtime.
Yeah.
So
there's also London, which is going to be April 22nd through the 28th. Barcelona, which is July 22nd through the 28th, and Richmond,
26th through the 28th.
26th through the 28th, excuse me, and then Richmond, sadly, which is November 8th through the 10th. Why they kept this one and didn't keep Sydney or Dallas, I don't know. I guess timing.
Yeah, I don't know. Sydney and Dallas were canceled. Remember, before they announced there would be 6 Pro Tours, but they said the 2 of them weren't announced what they were yet. Well, now it's heavily implied that we would get 4 Mythic Championships, and then we'll get like 2 big arena tournaments as well. So
yes, so
well, in addition to the PAX thing, that seems to be
that's an
own,
invitational.
Yeah, it seems to be its own entity.
Right, and there might be other invitationals that happen because there's $10 million, so they got to like stuff it in somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but Sydney and Dallas will still get something, right?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I
assume they might still get Magic Fests.
Yes.
So I'm not sure.
Yeah. So in addition to the Mythic Invitational and the Mythic Championships, we also have a significant prize pool set aside for partner and independent organizers who want to host Magic Arena, eSports, and tabletop competitive gaming events. The Tabletop Grand Prix circuit, held at Magic Fests, run by Channel Fireball events, alone offers a $2.5 million prize pool and dozens of events around the world in 2019. We look forward to announcing more partner events, especially esports events featuring Magic Arena. So basically, they're going to allow third parties to hold tabletop events if they want, but I assume that, Channel Fireball events probably has a lot of the ground on that. But also esports Magic Arena events, which I think is going to be the real big thing that they want to push.
It would be nice to see then Magic get added to the docket of some of these larger convention style tournaments, and see not just like Arena in its own thing that WotC's doing, but see Arena showing up in for example, Columbus, Ohio has I don't know if it was been built or if the plan is still in place, but to build an esports arena,
yes.
And a lot of cities have those now. So it'd be cool to see partners taking advantage of that and maybe seeing something like that showing up around, because that would be a cool thing to go to and to see the environment of like these esport like huge tournaments, like games I don't even care to watch very much. But like again, we can talk about the Game Awards that this announcement was originally made on, which was not a good award show.
Oh, I know, it never is.
But some of the categories they award, I think, are interesting.
Yeah.
And like the gaming personality of the year, I had never even heard of this person. I can't remember, something Fox, and I can't remember.
Oh, Sonic Fox.
Sonic Fox, that's it. I was going to say Purple Fox because that's I think the color he was, and I don't know because like I can't.
He was awarded the best esports player.
Right, and like there's also a category for like best esport moment. I didn't even know that, and like one of them involved like him like doing something crazy during Dragon Ball Fighter Z, which by the way, it is Fighter Z because it's like Dragon Ball Z. And when it got announced as a category,
Dragon Ball Fighters,
and I was like, oh, he messed up the first time, he'll fix it the next time. Nope. And then the third time was like, no one slapped him yet. Like no one slapped this announcer. But I think like to me, like one, I didn't know that these things existed, right? But the idea that could be Magic players, right?
Yeah.
In future years is kind of exciting.
Or one of your best esports moments could be a moment in Magic Arena.
Right, exactly.
It's interesting.
So I think that is cool to see, and I think like you're talking about trying to bridge to a new audience. That is an audience that I've never connected with, that I literally did because of this announcement, and now I'm thinking about something that's never happened before. So if WotC can push that way, then like when you're saying like, oh, where's the untapped market? It's like, well, I found it. It's right here. So it's pretty cool.
So we lost those two Pro Tours. So in further announcement of dead things, Nationals is dead again.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace again.
I'm glad we went to both of them. I'm glad we got to have one here. That hurts. I get it.
Nationals is cool,
but that hurts. And there's the secondary reason why is also the next one, which is
the Magic World Cup is dead.
Oof. Like
that was also a really cool event.
Cool event. I'm not gonna miss that one very much so because like. It didn't actively matter pretty much ever. The formats that they had to do to keep those things together. But it was a prestige thing that Magic had that they just don't now, which is kind of weird.
And I mean, to be fair, respect to the Magic World Cup, it did give us one of the best Magic gifts in the world.
Oh, that is true.
So much respect, much respect.
I think also like one of the issues that I think some people have been, and honestly rightfully afraid of, is that, you know, a lot of this stuff sounds very cool to me. I know that I'm going to have access to all of it, right? But people who have played on the international scale have seen some complaints about like this seems to be rough. Now, there's two sides to that because one, if there's big events that are arena based and you can queue for arena, then technically you would be inviting more players, right, from around the world.
Yeah.
But if you're not giving travel vouchers for anything, then you start getting tricky, right?
Yeah.
But more than that, like Nationals is a way for so many of the pro players that people that have become household names that are not if you are in the United States and they're not United States citizens, right? Like their first probable taste of the Pro Tour and that pro level came through Nationals because they qualified for their country's Nationals. They played at the World Cup and they were able to qualify for Pro Tours. And there's so many names that have come from that for multiple reasons. And so I think like. It's sad to see that go, and I think it's tough if you are not in the United States to not look at that and go, well, that seems to disenfranchise my connection here. So again, maybe Arena is the magical tool for all of this, but again, without travel stuff and it's gonna get weird.
Yeah, 100%. But I think like it's gonna get weird, but I don't think WotC could be afraid of it getting weird if they wanted to evolve into this realm.
No, and I think like that's a point we should stick a pin in because I want to come back to that when we do question of the week.
Okay.
By the way, the topic is this for the question of the week.
Yeah, shocking. The Pro Tour Team Series also dead. This will be the last year of it. So they'd had a big deal announcing it, and this will be the final year of it.
Yeah, okay. I don't think it ever really caught on the way they wanted to anyways, and I think like if you go eSports, then whatever their team series evolves to look like will make more sense because people in the eSports, I want to say the eSports arena because like that's what we say, but it's weird because of Magic Arena, so like the eSports realm is good. There's a lot more focus on that.
Yes.
So I think that whatever it morphs into will make more sense.
And there's already teams like your Cloud9 Gamings or what have you that already have a bunch of esports personalities they have contracts with that are in multiple different games. So you could even see them now taking a look at what's happening and being like, okay, we'll get some Magic Arena players or what have you to join the ranks and try to represent Cloud9 or something like that in this realm. Because now there's money there. And if people are going to make money, then these large team conglomerates are going to want to be in it too. And then I think this is probably like the saddest thing. Which is the Magic Pro Tour Hall of Fame is going to be changing. So this is going to be the last year of voting and qualification as it stands. There will be a new Hall of Fame structure to be unveiled later, but the Pro Tour Hall of Fame as we know it is going to be gone. Well, kinda.
I would say gone. Like again, this is one of those ones that is the most ambiguous to me, and I want to see what it means because when I read that the first time, like. Do you mean qualify to be voted on? Or
yes.
Okay.
I think that's what they mean.
Okay. Because like, I think there's implication here, though, that like, does this affect auto qualifications? You know what I mean? Like,
I would also bet that it does affect that.
Like, because like, I'm assuming I'd have to go look at it, but like the wording of whatever the Hall of Fame is that you are invited to all Pro Tours. If they aren't Pro Tours anymore, then are you invited? Like, does it say Pro Tours or equivalent events? But I doubt it says that.
I would highly I would bet that we don't see any sort of auto queue for the pros in the Hall of Fame going forward to Mythic Championships.
And I think that's good.
I also think that's good.
Which is, and I say that, and I know that a lot of people that are probably grown, and there's players like we said, like Finkel and like that, and Watts is going to find ways to get them involved. They already have. When you look at like the Silver Showcase and things like that last year, like they will continue to find ways to do that. But I think overall, it is good when you want to build your brand a little bit better and stop having people who come out of the woodworks who aren't embracing the game anymore. It gives players a reason to stop investing. Your best players a reason to stop investing. So, be interesting to see what it is.
Yeah, I think that while some of the people in the Hall of Fame are definitely like faces of the game, and but I don't know on the long enough timeline, their stories don't translate down. The game of telephone just stops somewhere, and new players don't care who they are. So it sucks that they don't get auto-qualified for these Mythic Championships, but then again, if they still want to be involved in the game, then maybe this will light a fire under them.
Right.
And then they can be. It's not stopping them from playing Magic, it's stopping them from getting a free ride. Yeah,
Magic's one of those. It's not. We're talking about esports. We want to compare it to sports, but you don't. I think we talked about this before. We talked Hall of Fame, but you don't retire from esports because of old age, or from Magic from old age. It's not like you can't be like, well, knees just aren't what they used to be. Can't rush.
Right.
And
like even when you look at other, like we already said, other esports literally have physical injuries, that stop people from playing. So they do have a similar retirement system to like something like the NFL or the MLB.
But like Magic doesn't.
Magic doesn't do that. You could play Magic forever if you really wanted to. But yeah, I am most interested to see what this looks like.
Yeah, I think like. Again, I'll put a pin in this because this goes back to what I just said. Like, I think there's something about this that we need to talk about with like what Wizards' stance seems to be here, and I think it's interesting. So,
all right. So we're about to head into the question of the week. Before we do so, I wanted to give a quick shout out to our lovely sponsor, Comic Town. They're going to be holding a invitational qualifier, correct? An invitational qualifier on December 29th. So that's the weekend.
That's the day after my birthday.
It's the day. He'll be 1 year older and probably
none the wiser.
none the wiser. So if you want to find out more information about that invitational qualifier, be sure to go to Comic Town Gaming Center on Facebook or worldcomictown.com, and you can find out all about the events that are going to be coming up at their lovely location here in Columbus, Ohio. All right. So, question of the week. Will this work? Will this push into esports, this push behind Magic Arena, and all of these changes that WotC's planning for competitive Magic on a grand level, on a large scale, will it work? And I think that's a big thing to really tackle. There have definitely been a couple articles that we have, kind of picked up on from Matt Sperling, who I'm sure that there are many people like me when looking at Matt Sperling and some of the things that he does and says and can't stand him. But every once in a while, blind squirrel finds a nut. So while I don't necessarily like everything he says, this article definitely has a lot of interesting points. And Screen Rant, a notable sort of pop culture blog at this point in time, also has an interesting article about the Magic Arena esports announcement.
I think I want to start there, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So the author there is it's Cody. It's either Gravel, or Gravel, and I don't know which one it is. I'm very sorry. It's got the ELE at the end.
I like Gravel. It's very
nice.
Poetic.
So he talked about it being like these positive changes, but he had a final paragraph, and that's kind of where I want to start with the thing I said to put a pin in. If our overall question is, will it work? I think yes, but I think there's a lot of things that we're going to see. Like we come back, a year from now, Morgan, like you and I, like assuming that we're still at your end, stepping and alive
and well,
and the planet hasn't,
and we're not in some Mad Maxian hellscape.
I mean, that might be cool, but anyways.
not for me.
That's fair.
I don't think I'm going to do well in that universe.
Will we feel better, or we feel like, because like there's a real risk with this that like Magic, that WotC could lose its competitive core of players with this if they mishandle it, and could really like they've had so much positive momentum with Arena, it could go backwards, but I don't see that. But
No.
I think like when you look at this, but anyway, so I do think it will work, but I think there's some hurdles. So going to the screen rant page. While the change is likely a net positive one, there are more prizes available in Mythic Championships, and using Magic Arena for some of them will bring more eyeballs onto Wizards products. The transition is still bittersweet. There was a mystique about the Pro Tours that had been built up over decades of the tournament series existing, and it will not be one that is easily replaced. For many, the desire to end up playing a Pro Tour was what kept them going through the competitive grind's ups and downs. While the Mythic Championships appear to be an upgrade, it may be a while before they build up the same legendary vibe that made Pro Tours so appealing. And I think that's a really good way to say that. I think in our own local Facebook groups, I saw a number of people who like their first response was, well, I failed to qualify for a Pro Tour. Like that's the first thing they said was like, well, I can't qualify for a Pro Tour now. And that, I get that. I really do. And that's easy for me to say I get that because I managed to luck into a Pro Tour qualification. But like, I know that if I look at the last few years, my track of how much I played competitive Magic, I played a ton of competitive Magic, grinding. And the end of this high point of competitive grinding for me was a Pro Tour. And once I did that, I slowed down a fair amount, because that was a goal.
Yeah.
And I made that goal, and we talked about how I think we talked on this podcast for a long time about taking those steps forward. Like, if you're really grinding hard, right, and that's what you want to do, then you take those. And like once I did that, then it felt like, I don't know, I started focusing a little bit more professionally, like as far as my career. And while I still enjoy playing competitive Magic, I haven't taken even those competitive. Like I played in that PBTQ yesterday because I could. Right?
Yeah.
I went to Milwaukee because I wanted to go, but I have not held the grudges that I was holding, like the weight of not doing well or losing in the top 8, or I've not that weight doesn't feel the same because I managed to get to where I wanted to go. So I think it's interesting when I see that. Like I get people being upset about that when this person says like that might kill some people's drive. Like, oh, I was trying to do this and I couldn't do it. I totally get that. The Pro Tour. As much as WotC is going to try and forge this new brand, they know they're taking a calculated risk because the Pro Tour is a known and respected brand. Like their year is structured around it. Everything feeds into it. They call their qualifier systems, Pro Tour qualifiers or PPTQs and RPTQs for a reason because those acronyms have stuck. There is a lot of name association here that is a huge deal that they are, for all intents and purposes, lighting on fire. But going back to what I said to put a pin on, I think that's really important for a few reasons because WotC also has had a hard time shaking off a toxic community. We are toxic. And I don't say like you and I, Morgan. No, we can be. We're pretty cynical in general.
Yeah.
But the community itself is toxic. And I think like nothing points more than that than Hall of Fame voting. How disgusting Hall of Fame voting has been the last few years. And how... I want to be careful how I say this, but how much Magic players feel entitled to certain things because WotC has done well with those things. So we're a part of that group. You and I specifically are part of that group. So I think WotC here, by taking that step forward, they're risking a lot, but they are shaking off a lot of toxicity. They are just wiping their hands clean from it, and they're probably going to lose some players in the process. But I think that's going to be okay.
Yeah. I think it's. I understand like what the words mean. I understand like what the naming and why it's important, but I don't think qualifying for a Mythic Championship versus a Pro Tour is any less prestigious just because they're calling it something different. A rose by any other name would smell just as sweet. But I understand. But then again, like, why are you competing for that? You're competing for either the prize money because you want to win, or because that is just the new high echelon. Like they're just changing the name of it. I understand like there is a lot of clout that sticks with a name, but then again, nothing else. It feels like nothing else as to a motivation to compete in that realm is changing. You know what I mean? The things that are changing might be the number of people that are there, which may even make them more exclusive, which may make it harder for you to qualify for these tournaments, which in turn could be a greater achievement than qualifying for a pro tour. There's a lot of attachment to a name, but if they're trying to actively make something better, then I'm not going to fault them on changing the name or the history. I understand why it's there. I understand that we have a lot of history, and it's important to the USA in general has a lot of history, and not all of it's great. So just like that, we have to understand it, we have to know about it, but it's okay to change. It's okay to move forward and progress and evolve, and really go into a realm that you need to go to survive as a company. If WotC doesn't evolve, if Hasbro, their parent company, doesn't push them to evolve, they're going to die, and that's the end all be all. There have been a lot of questions that I really feel like Aaron Forsyth and some of the Magic creative and development team have tried to help quell. A lot of it being with Magic Online and how long that's going to be around, and a lot of it being with Modern, in all honesty. Forsyth has gone on Twitter, and I don't know if he confirmed or he definitely alluded heavily that Modern is still an important part of tabletop Magic. So there should be. I forget what the actual quote is. I don't know if, like I said, but I don't know if he confirmed. He definitely has said it's definitely an important part of tabletop Magic, and that they were still going to be hopefully supporting it in the Mythic Championships.
I gotta pause there. So you've adopted that term pretty well. Tabletop Magic.
Yes.
Do we ever really call it tabletop
Magic?
Magic?
No one calls it that.
Yeah, so that's one of the big things also in all this announcements is that like they're throwing that word tabletop out heavily. Did you see Forsyth's interaction with
yes.
Patrick Sullivan?
No one calls that.
He literally says no one's going to call that blank that, and he goes my bosses do.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, okay. So
exactly.
I don't know if I can get behind tabletop Magic either, but I think they're expecting that just like we've predicted and you've been very vocal about that they're expecting Arena to become the flagship, not paper Magic to be the flagship. So that doesn't surprise me.
That is a side effect of our world. That is just where humans as a group are progressing towards. It's just a more focus on technology.
Yeah.
And I understand like Magic has a lot of history with paper, but that's not where people are looking to necessarily invest in their games. And by making this move, it at least tells me that they're not completely blind to everything that's going wrong.
For sure.
And I think like sometimes you worry about that with WotC, with some of the decisions they make. And like there's still plenty of room for this to go sideways. Let's not forget about that. There's still not a lot of information that we necessarily have about these changes. And again, I've said this time and time again, WotC will find a way to like mess it up.
They're like life.
Yeah. But I think that overall, when we're taking a look at the changes that they're making, I could be flexible with Wizards of the Coast. I could be flexible with what they're doing because I, as a human being, understand that even if I don't necessarily like a change, but if I can understand where that change is coming from, then I can better wrap my head around it.
Right.
I could better work with it. And I feel like I understand where this change is coming from because it's a change that I definitely expected WotC to make eventually.
Right.
I still think that there is a lot of information that we need, and the future is a little bit blurry. But I think that if they're doing this now, it's better than never. And I honestly think they didn't do this for such a long time because they knew that they had the best game. The Magic is just the if you take a look at any other card game or anything like that, Hearthstone can compete digitally because it was just such a huge IP that it was backed behind. But now that Wizards of the Coast is going to want to be pushing digitally a lot harder, and they have a good program to really start doing that, I'm pretty scared for all the other card games out there, to be perfectly honest.
They've woken the giant.
Right. And I think that is 100% true. People have been yelling at them to do this for so long, and now they're starting to. And it seems like they are wanting to make the right steps. I just hope that they don't misstep.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, as I said, we just went through a list of bullet points. That's a long list.
It's huge.
A lot of those bullet points, though, given as bullet points, which the article does, do sound like a child wish list, right? Like, all right, guys, here's my plan. We give out more money.
Yes.
Okay. We do it with a system that's in beta, running huge level of tournaments, also in person. So we're going to be at PAX with all our computer presence, and I promise it's fine. We're going to give contracts for $75,000 to people, right? Notice that none of these have specifics, though, right? Like,
correct.
Do you know that running an arena-based tournament at PAX East is going to require a huge amount of, like you have to hope that goes well. And most of you listening have played Magic Online enough to go that WotC and server space have not gone well. And Arena hasn't been tested like that.
Yeah.
It just hasn't.
To our knowledge, I mean, what they do internally is...
They can do internally something that mirrors a Pro Tour?
Not a Pro Tour. The Invitational is going to be smaller, though.
That's fair, I suppose.
It's not going to be as large as a Pro Tour.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess.
Or Mythic Championship. We don't necessarily know how big those will be either.
Yeah, I think you have to stop because like you say that, but like we actually don't know. It's just a list of things.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think like these all sound good, but again, it sounds good too when I say like all right, I want more money, but I want to do less work.
Less work, yeah.
And it's just like, okay, cool, how? And it's like, oh no, I just want.
There's no how.
I just want.
What's this how word?
So I think, and I'm not saying that WotC doesn't have the how, but they obviously don't have all of the how.
Right.
So I think that's certainly interesting.
And I think like the other frightening thing is like before this we thought we were going to have 6 Pro Tours, and that announcement was like 2 or 3 months ago.
Yep.
So, and then we don't. So who's to say that 2 or 3 months later they won't change something on this?
Yeah, somebody's still not communicating, and that is really the weird thing that I wish WotC could just nail down. Because there's just other companies don't have this problem.
I don't know where like this is coming from. Maybe this was a plan to go into effect for the 2020 year, and they were just like, nope, 2019.
Yeah, I mean Hasbro just said no, we need to do this.
Yeah,
and that's very possible. You have, I could certainly see other games having a big effect on this. If you look recently, we have things. Obviously, Hearthstone is doing fine. I will say I've heard a lot less buzz about them. Their most recent set, I've heard very little about.
Yeah. I think like the game is showing its age.
I think it is too. I got a description of like their most recent like effect. And I just I'll pass. I was already passing, but you have some high profile ones coming though right now. You have Artifact.
Yeah, which is having a rough go at it right now.
Still buzzing though, and in the paper realm, you have Keyforge, which I think is unique. I think that Keyforge isn't going to be very good, but again, buzzy, has sold well at least initially, and is a threat both paper and eventually digitally. It was the plan. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't surprise me if WotC looked around and saw a dense competitive landscape and just said, no, we need to just make sure our name is there. And there's something exciting. I said if I literally stayed up a little bit later to watch the Game Awards, a show that I've never watched before. I know that it exists. Mm-hmm. I've never cared before.
No,
I watched it, and when Elaine Chase gets up there and says, hey, like Magic is doing this, there's something buzzy about that. There's something, as a Magic player, as a person who's been invested for so long in this game, it feels special. You know what I mean? They're just like, ooh, like she's there telling us this. Like this is Magic's gonna be here, wants to be on this stage. Like there's it's not a mistake that she's on this stage.
It's intentional. Yeah.
So I think like maybe they get pushed ahead, and I hope that shifts. I think that when we talk about the hiring of I'm gonna forget his name, the new the CEO for Wizards of the Coast,
Chris Cox.
Thank you. How could I forget? A lot of this, his initial statement about what he saw as the future of WotC is, well, he's been kind of on the money with that, and I think it's kind of interesting. So, I think that when you go back to the article we discussed last week, which I do think some of the elements sort of got shot down on that a little bit. I do think, though, what they talked about with some of that corporate synergy is also a big deal. So maybe now we'll finally see some movement on the Magic movie, and we'll start going into that.
Yeah, maybe. So to reflect back on that article, like I think like some of his points are deflated, but I don't think all of them are. I do think that in a way, this is still saying that they aren't supporting the current pros. I think they want new faces in the game, and I think they want to give money to new faces in the game. To be perfectly honest, because they want personalities in the game, and not saying we don't already have some of those, but they see LSV and they want more LSV type of people that are younger and have a longer longevity.
Can I also say they don't just want LSV, they want girl LSV.
Yes.
And they want diverse LSV.
Yes.
Which is a really sweet name now I think about. Diverse LSV.
I agree. I completely agree with that.
And I think they probably want to. When I think about like who we have as streamers currently, like who I think are very solid. I think the flip side of that though is I'll mention like doesn't stream as much like Michael Jacobs, right? I don't think they want that voice.
No, I would also agree with them not necessarily wanting someone who could be so back and forth with it, like truthful, and like he's speaking his truth and his opinion, but it's just like it's also not necessarily always a net positive for the game when that happens. But I just think that the current like pros that they've cultivated, some of them are personalities that are bankable. Yeah. Are the kind of things that could easily be rolled into someone creating content, being a good streamer, being engaging.
Yeah.
And some of them just don't have it.
Yeah.
And I still think that their shift, even though they are definitely putting more money into the pro scene and like really trying to cultivate players, they are now trying to cultivate. I think they're slowly guiding back into the pros being the face of the game and not necessarily the planeswalkers, but they want to rebuild their ranks.
Right.
And then with the contracts, then you have them under contract.
Right.
And you have a little bit more control over what is said and done. And when they step out of line, they can be out.
I want to bring up one more point to that, and then that we talked about actually at dinner last night, because I think you're right with that. They do want control over it. I think when we talk about will this work, another hurdle they'll have to clear is that WotC's going to really have to acknowledge how bad they have been about punishing those who do something wrong in the game, both as cheaters, but both also as the kind of statements that have been made that have gotten sort of slaps on the wrist. I think when you obviously see like what Jerry Thompson has done and his sort of lead to get these known cheaters or these repeating offenders, get them out. Was it this most recent Pro Tour? Right? Isn't that the one that Bertoncini gets to play in, or does he get to play in Cleveland?
I can't remember.
He's qualified for one of them, so that's awkward. And I think that WotC has gotten away with that by being sort of away from the main eye. But if you go into if you are trying to get the numbers and get the clout that some of these arena things have, I think about the Overwatch League. Overwatch League has been hugely popular. But I know of at least 3 different instances now of Overwatch League players also getting kicked off of teams for saying inappropriate offensive things, and it's a big deal. And when the world is watching, you know what I mean? Like when we're talking about not 20,000 people for the Pro Tour, but they want to get to that $100,000 like point, or $100,000 people watching point. Yeah. More people are going to be aware of that. So again, I'm not just talking about cheating, because cheating's obviously the biggest one, but I'm also talking about like Ben Stark making comments about Portuguese players that nothing happened to him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think like
because like to be perfectly honest, like I don't know like what's the reach? What's the reach with WotC now? And do they want that? But if you are a contracted player, you're going to have more of an opportunity to be impacted. You can,
or they can just cut your contract.
Yeah, exactly.
I guarantee there's going to be a clause in that contract that is just going to say like if you do any things like on this list that we say you can't do, then you're out.
100%.
You're out.
And I think like that's what they want, and that is the group they're trying to cultivate. And they can do that, and then really try to capitalize on these people, and have a pretty good relationship back and forth between the contracted players, the pro league, and themselves.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I think that's something Watson's going to pay attention to and have to be more careful. By structuring itself this way and wanting to make itself bigger, you are opening yourself up to more scrutiny. The larger audience you have, the more scrutiny you get. So I think they have to be ready to take that on. And unfortunately, nothing about how they've operated so far says that they are. So I hope that they have the forethought to look at other esports entities and say, okay, we need to do something. We need to take care of this.
Mm-hmm. And hey, at the very least, in your Magic Arena, qualifiers and your Magic Arena Mythic Championships, you won't have to worry about sleight of hand cheating. That's nice.
I guess that's true.
And you can't break the rules. You're playing on you can't play two lands off of the Explorer.
Yeah, but Magic Online lets you break the rules sometimes. So
well, are you talking about how
Arena's done that too?
Yeah, I understand. You have to have a good quality program. Hey, Arena's in beta, first of all, and Magic's hard. I don't know.
Yeah, saying Arena's in beta doesn't make any difference if they're going to start letting you qualify for Mythic Championships off of it. And Magic Online's been out of actual beta for 15 years, and they still can't fix problems. So
a lot of those problems typically stem with the older
from incompetence.
Also incompetence. But hopefully Arena will not still consistently have those problems because they are a different rule base for at least the code. So hopefully those will get squashed.
Yeah.
And to be fair, while a lot of the things that I've seen, because I'm in the Arena Reddit and people post all the time when their game randomly crashes or what like that or something like that, it is just like a random crash that can't necessarily be repeatable. You know what I mean? But currently or recently there was a bug in Magic Online where if you had a spell queller that didn't exile anything and it left the battlefield, the game did not know what to do and it restarted the game and the game ended. And that was a repeatable bug. It was definable. You could do this, and this will always happen. So Arena is definitely still in beta and still has bugs, and will always have bugs. And I guess you don't have bugs in paper, but you have cheaters. So don't play Magic. I don't know what to tell you, man. You just can't win either way.
Could you imagine if we accepted that any other thing? Well, unfortunately, this bed has bugs, but all beds have bugs. So, I mean, if you like this bed. You gotta deal with the bugs.
You gotta sleep on the floor if you don't like it. I don't know what to tell you, man. It's all bad. It's all bad out here.
There's those eternal beds over there, but they're made of wood.
I don't know.
There's Keyforge beds. Each one of them is not a human shape. They're all their own unique shape, but none of them are human shaped.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. But other digital platforms have been able to have successful tournament and esports success on a program, and I do hope that they have the right people in charge of Arena to make sure that the program is stable enough to be a competitive element in their company.
One thing I will definitely say about that, and we harassed WotC about this, but one thing that WotC hasn't done, which they could do, because this is what online only games do. New sets are tiny. New set releases for Hearthstone or Eternal. They are not the same size as a major release for
right.
Wizards of the Coast. And WotC could have cut down how many cards are in sets a long time ago in paper to make it easier to code. And they didn't do that. They have not done that. So we're still printing, even though they've changed the sets and this and that, the amount of cards being printed are pretty consistent. So I think that is a testament to them not being sort of afraid of that, because they could have made it easier for themselves.
Yeah.
And catered to it a long time ago, and they haven't done that. So,
yeah, I think
here's my new Hearthstone set. It's 40 cards.
I think it'll be interesting. I know that Arena still has a long way to go before it's a completely positive product. I still think that there are some nagging things that people have questions about that are on the books to be fixed, it'll be interesting to see kind of the availability of that program going forward. I'm very excited to see it on different platforms, and I really hope that they focus on that. And I think this tournament series, the championship series, helps with that. Them putting such a huge focus on Arena helps with wanting to get that program to other platforms so that everyone can experience. So you can get it on your tablet, so you can get it on your MacBook, eventually get it on your phone. I still think that is difficult. I still think that Magic Arena on a phone is a difficult prospect. It's not an impossibility. It's just hard. But yes, I think that overall, I think that these changes are going to be a net positive. It just may take a few years to see the whole picture.
Right.
All right. Well, enough of this discussion here about these huge changes, but it's a pretty interesting time to be a Magic player, and I think you just have to be open to the changes that are happening, and see it. I know it's difficult, but maybe trust WotC a little bit and see where it goes. I know it's hard, but maybe.
Yeah, it's we just have to see how this unwraps, but. I appreciate this is part of the largest info dumps we've had.
It's the largest change in Magic since, in my opinion, it's the largest change in Magic since Magic has existed.
No, it's distinctly not.
Really?
The rule shifts, the 6th edition rule shifts, and the rule shifts changed what Magic.
What about competitive Magic?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. But then you're arguing is this a bigger change than the inception of professional Magic? No, because literally, here's the other thing. Don't forget, WotC starts everything. All the stuff that we see today is because WotC started the Pro Tour. So, we should. It just is what it is.
Since competitive Magic's inception. There we go.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Perfect. We figured it out.
So I think when you're talking about the two massive rules changes that we've had, that shifted how Magic is played as a game, I think are more important.
I suppose. I think that this will allow Magic to continue existing.
Oh, yeah.
Like we will say, Magic will be around forever. This will be the thing that allows Magic to be around forever.
Magic signed an indefinite contract with existence.
Yeah.
But
it's true. I truly think that. I think that if Magic Arena never came out and we just had Magic Online and paper Magic, eventually I think that it would just die out because Magic Online is a terrible program, and eventually people will not want to buy paper cards. Eventually. So, there you go. All right. So, what's happening this weekend? It's going to be the World Magic Cup in Barcelona, Spain. And this is the big end of the year tournament.
Yeah,
right?
This is it. This is sort of the last major tournament we'll see this year. So we'll have some deck lists to talk next week from SCG Con and the GPs, and then we'll have the World Magic Cup. So we've got if you are ready, if you're itching for more like me talking about Arc Phoenix, don't worry.
It's there.
It's coming.
Oh, we'll probably complain about Ironworks as well.
Yeah, if you're waiting for us to just take a big old dump on Ironworks, that's what I'm going to do too.
Yeah, for sure. But that's going to be the only thing happening this upcoming weekend. But yeah, that's going to be everything for our show for this week. If you want to reach out to us, you have multiple ways to do so. We have a Twitter. It's your NStep. When you add us, it's at your NStep. We also have an email address at yournstep@gmail.com. And we also have Facebook. So you can come give us a like on Facebook. It's facebook.com/@yournstep. We also want to give a shout out to our lovely patrons who come to listen to our show and contribute every episode. We definitely couldn't do it without you. If you want to become a patron of our show, you can definitely check out our Patreon. It's patreon.com/@yournstep. If you're listening to us via iTunes, feel free to give us a rating and review. It helps with our visibility. Or if you're listening to us via MTGcast, definitely feel free to check out some of the other shows on that lovely network. Anything else I'm missing? I feel like I'm missing something else. But I guess
don't
not.
think so.
All right. Well, that's going to be everything for us this week. We're going to continue to watch the rest of this football game, and we'll catch you later. Have a great one. Bye.